All right. So thank you everyone for joining us for today's post-orientation family workshop. My name is Bobby Lynn Kekik. I use the she series pronouns, and I am the executive director for orientation and student onboarding. I am going to invite my colleagues who are joining me today to just quickly introduce themselves. So I will invite our Vice President of Student Affairs, Andrew Shepherdson, to introduce himself first.
Everyone, welcome. My name is Andrew Shepherdson. I am the Vice President for Student Affairs and the Dean of Students at Bentley.
Lauren, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Hubachek. I serve as the Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Campus Life. Nice to be with you this evening.
Melissa, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Melissa Jenkins. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Academic Advising at Bentley.
And Caroline, please close us out.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Horn. I'm the Associate Director for Orientation and Student Onboarding here at Bentley.
Wonderful. Well, in just a moment, you will hear from all of our campus celebrities, campus leaders, and fellow Falcons talking a little bit about what your students have been up to over these past few weeks, what they can look forward to, and how you can help to support them. Just like we share with all of our other sessions and programs, we are recording this so that you can use this resource at a later date. And for those who are unable to join us live, they'll have the opportunity to view this content as well. For those who do view this as a recording, at the end of our slide deck, you will see a full list of all of our emails. So please feel free to reach out to us directly. And also, if there's a question we're unable to answer during our time together today, please feel free to reach out to us. We want to make sure that we can continue to be a support for you and your student as well. Additionally, as we mentioned in our live chats, we really do view our families and our parents, our supporters, as partners in this experience. We recognize that you have been with your students much longer than they've been a part of our community. And so we view these opportunities to come together as a way for us to share resources, information, and while your students will also be hearing this from our faculty, our staff, and student leaders, we know that they will probably still go to you and share their successes and their concerns. And the more that we can provide you with context and information, the better that you can help to be an ambassador to this information and resources. Now, with that being said, we of course always want to make sure that our students are advocating for themselves and starting to really practice doing some of this work and empowering themselves to take the lead. So whether that is going to their faculty office hours to ask a question about content that was covered that maybe they're just quite not getting yet, or maybe that is a question that they have from someone in our multicultural center. We really want to empower them to take the lead and start to flex that muscle and build those skills. So in collaboration with the support that you'll provide with your student, what we will offer and provide for your student, we have no doubt that we'll be able to create that foundation for success. So what can you expect from us today? You, in just a moment, will hear from our Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. We'll share a quick orientation recap, and then we'll talk a little bit about supporting your student beyond orientation in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So without further ado, I'm going to invite our Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Andrew Shepherdson, to share a welcome.
Thank you, Bobby Lynn, and welcome to this evening. I'm so glad that you're taking time out of your evening to join us and to partner with us as we look to make this a really great experience. And thank you for trusting us and having your student join us on their academic journey. This is quite a unique and wonderful class. The first evening orientation program I went to, I arrived right on time, which typically in my 30 years of higher ed experience is about 15 to 20 minutes early. But students were already there. They were in their seats. They were ready to go. They were excited. So it really is an engaged class. And I think we're hearing all across campus how engaged this class is, both academically and outside the classroom. We had a great, huge crowd at our activities fair where all the student orgs, over 130 of them, were out showing off and sharing what they do, and students engaging with the leaders of those organizations and trying to find what fits for them and what kinds of activities they want to get into. So we're thrilled that you're here. We really do want to partner, and we really do want to ensure that your student is advocating for themselves, and then we're supporting them and supporting you, supporting them. So this is a first step in making sure you have the information to help in that guidance, but also know that there's always individuals here who are willing to support. I often, hear a parent say, my child said there was no one on campus that would help them and no one would listen. I'm like, I'm not sure they actually even left the room to ask the question, because people at Bentley will listen. Sometimes it takes a little while, like any bureaucracy, to find the right person, but people will make that connection, and we all want to make sure that the student experience is great. That's what we've built our reputation on. So know that if maybe they're not getting that right answer the first time, we just have to get them to the right person, and we will assist them as they go through. And there's always a great deal for them to do, and activities and engagement, from academics to social to co-curricular. So really excited to share that with you. And after having them here and listening to all of it, and now you can mesh what you've heard from them and what we're sharing with you. And hopefully that comes together in a really helpful way for you as you go through this. So welcome, thrilled to have you here and looking forward to your questions. Bobby Lynn?
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. And Andrew was correct. You have created some very wonderful humans. So thank you for having them come to our community. They've already started to make an impact, and they've only been here for a few weeks. So we're really, really, really grateful. So what have they been doing in these few weeks? Well, as we start to think about our new Falcon Experience, which is our undergraduate onboarding process, one of the signature aspects of that process is our orientation program. This really takes all of our knowledge and our information, what we've been connecting with students about, and brings them to campus, and it really brings this work to life so that they can start to see what their life is in this next chapter, in this new chapter, now that they are part of the Bentley community. So some of the key components of the orientation experience started in August with some self-guided learning courses. These courses really provided an opportunity for students to be able to have a baseline level of understanding around what their rights and responsibilities are as members of our communities. How can they maximize and really live their core values and our core values so that we can have the community be safe and productive and engaged, and one that they can be connected with and belong. From there, we provided the opportunity for students to have a virtual orientation meet and greet. This was an optional experience for students, but we did find that a lot of students took advantage of this because it helps folks to feel a little bit more comfortable as they're then navigating to campus. And then the signature experience of the orientation component is when students are physically on our campus, when they come to campus, if they're living on campus, when they move into their residence halls, and then the remaining few days that they are able to engage in some high impact programs, opportunities for reflection, and a lot of opportunities to connect and start to feel a level of comfort as they join their new home. So I'm going to pass it over to Caroline to talk a little bit more about what are some of these highlights within the program, what are some of the guest speakers that we provided during this experience, and what's some of the fun that they also had, because that's a big part of this too, is making sure that students have the opportunity to socialize and connect and really start to form this network of fellow Falcons. So Caroline, you want to talk a little bit about day one?
Sure. So with day one, during the morning, we had move-in for all of our residential students. And then in the afternoon, we had an opportunity for students and families to connect with both on and off campus resources at our vendor fair. We also welcomed our commuter students to check in, and we had a welcome meeting with them where they were able to hear a little bit more about being involved on campus and also more about academics at Bentley. Then we had everybody join us on the green space, and we walked from the green space to the arena for our Falcon Walk with Flex leading the way. We had convocation in the arena, and then we really kicked off orientation in the Dana Center with an orientation welcome and their initial group meetings with their orientation leaders. From there, our residential students headed to their first building and RA meetings. And then we had a first night block party on our library quad area with a DJ, some different novelty items such as street signs, some plants that students could bring back to their halls, but also just a chance for them to start connecting with their peers through some programming, some dancing, and some food. On day 2, we started the day with orientation group meetings again, just a chance for them to reconnect with their groups to kick off the day. And then we heard from our student equity and inclusion team to really talk about the importance of belonging at Bentley. And from there, we heard from one of our orientation keynote speakers, Ken Wadake Jr., who talks about the Free Hugs movement and also has a tie to the Boston Marathon bombing and supporting the Boston area through that. Students from there were able to hear from their FDS leaders for the first time. So our orientation leaders and our peer leaders co-led a group meeting for them at that time. They got to hear about academics at Bentley. From there, they were able to connect with various academic resources on campus through a scavenger hunt all across upper campus. So they were able to go to the library, go to some of the learning labs, go to the trading room, and really just experience that and see which spaces they may go back to if they have any questions throughout their semester. And then we ended this day with Flex's Frenzy, where we brought all the students to the football field. They were led in some different chants. They were welcomed from our student athletes. And then we had various inflatables, slushes, a video game truck, and all sorts of different things on lower campus for them to engage in that night. On day 3, we really focused on allowing students to really connect with our community. A rotating schedule for the entire day, which included campus tours. It included them really learning about the different spaces within our student center, but also our health center, counseling center, and university police. Orientation leaders also led them through a campus tour. They were able to hear about Title IX, and we also had another keynote speaker series, which was called the Bridge Project, which are 2 slam poets. And it was really kind of built upon reflection and storytelling there. They, after that, got to have a quick group meeting with their orientation leader. And then one of our signature orientation events is called Lowering Our Shields, where students are brought to the arena and they hear stories from 4 of our student leaders, really talking about a time where they felt a sense of belonging. And after they hear these talks, they then go out to the different fields on campus with their orientation groups, and they get to participate in the activity themselves. We've heard from a lot of people throughout the years that this is really the time where they feel really connected to Bentley and their orientation groups. After that, they head to the Student Center for Falcons After Dark, which is a program where we basically take over the entire Student Center and we have different activities for them. So karaoke, trivia, we have Build-A-Bear type activities, we have glow-in-the-dark mini golf. So really a chance, and the first time since last year that our Student Center is lively with students again. So really just a chance for them to continue to build those connections. Day 4, we had our keynote speaker, Ed Garrity, talk to the students at the beginning of the day. And he really talks about goal setting. What is it like to make sure you have a positive outlook on life during your experience? He brings a student up each year to call a family member. So if you are one of the family members who was called this year, we really loved that. And we also loved hearing the goals that the students were setting. From there, they got to work with their FDS peer leader and participate in an activity with them. They then heard from student development, conduct, and care about living on campus and being part of being a respectful member of our community. They heard a little bit more about BentleyPlus and from different student leaders on life of a Bentley student and what involvement can look like at Bentley, and that there's no one way to be involved on campus. And then we wrap up the orientation program for them to ask any last minute questions that they have of their orientation leader through Ask an OL. And then we do a few different activities through our orientation closing group meeting. And we wrap up the program with group photos at the Falcon statue for them to be able to take a group photo and then head off to dinner. And that night they had orientation bingo. And another one of our signature events as we kind of kick off the academic year for students is Falcon 40. So it is a program schedule that really highlights all of the different events happening on campus throughout the first 40 days of the semester. So as you can see on the right, there are a lot of different things happening in the month of September, but on our Welcome Falcons Instagram, we go week by week. So if there's anything that we have missed or anything that's still being planned, we do highlight that for students each week so they know that there's always something to get involved in or always an event to go to. So we highlight some of the different athletic events. We have a first year area s'mores night taking place on Thursday night for students. So if students are interested in that, they can go with their peers within their residence halls. And then just a lot of other events that our campus activities board is planning or other orgs on campus.
Wonderful. And so I know I personally had to take a deep breath after that because that was a lot of things that they were participating in. So if you did hear from your student during that time, I am sure they mentioned how busy and engaging it was. And I think we, in the midst of all that, we really tried to ensure that we were also really prioritizing our students' well-being and making sure that they were taking breaks when they needed them, and ensuring that there were different wellness activities throughout the programming too. So definitely a pretty robust schedule of what they've been engaged in. And as Caroline said, Falcon 40 is our programming series. So as we start to think about life beyond orientation, we really think about this sense of connection, what is happening, how are students creating this network, and their sense of community. Curriculum is another component of what we're thinking about with our students. What do academics look like? How are we ensuring that they are finding success in the classroom? And then one of the biggest pieces that our students are always thinking about from day one is this career development piece. So we're going to dig in a little bit just about these kind of three cornerstones to the experience post-orientation. So as Caroline mentioned, the community piece with Falcon 40, and then our Falcon Discovery and our transfer seminars are great opportunities where students get to continue the relationships that they started in orientation through these seminars. So the groups that they have in orientation are the groups that they have through FDS or transfer seminar. And they've already had the opportunity to meet these peer leaders. So again, they get to continue to deepen that. And even if students, not everyone is going to find their best friend in their orientation or their seminar cohort, and that is perfectly fine and perfectly normal. Students will start to connect with folks in their residence halls or at different events that they might go to, or other clubs or organizations or interests that they might choose to be a part of. But a few quick notes about our Falcon Discovery Seminar and our Transfer Seminar, because these are major milestones for students in these next few weeks and months as they're engaging in their first semester. So FDS, which is short for Falcon Discovery Seminar, is a seminar that all of our first year students will participate in. And it really engages students in thinking about the university community. What is life as a member of the Bentley community? But it really starts to prepare them also for this concept of lifelong learning. Once they finish this first year, 4 or 5 years, whatever that might be, education and learning is going to continue far beyond even just their time at Bentley. And so, how are we setting students up for success to really be these lifelong learners? The course also focuses on the power of communities by thinking about a wicked or an authentic problem that a community may be facing, and it's selected by the faculty members, and then they build their discussions and their work around how are we addressing these authentic problems. So a really unique opportunity for students to be connecting intentionally with a faculty member from day one, having a peer leader who can help to support them in and outside of the classroom, and really setting them up for this lifelong learning right from day one. Our transfer seminar is slightly different, but it really leans into how do students start to acclimate to life at Bentley. At the institution that they were at previously, they may have participated in something like a Falcon Discovery seminar or a first year seminar. That's a typical name at some other institutions. So we know that they may have some core concepts of what it is to be successful in college, but we want to make sure that students can be successful at Bentley. How are they maximizing their Bentley experience? How are they really making sure that they're taking advantage of that? And that is led by a staff member and also a peer leader. So again, having that direct support system right from the start. The next piece to this is CDI, or our Career Development Introduction 101. And this course is an opportunity for students to be able to start to engage and think a little bit about what are their strengths, what are their talents, how do they, how do they utilize LinkedIn? How do they create an elevator pitch? What does that look and feel like? And knowing that this is something that is incredibly important to our students, and I'm sure to our family members as we start to think about our students' preparedness to life beyond Bentley, really having students participate in this, it can be very helpful. This is not a requirement for students, but we do find, I want to say it's 95 to 98% of our first year students do choose to participate in CDI in their spring semester. And if I have that number off, Melissa, please feel free to correct me on that. But I do know that we have a high number of students that do choose to participate in that. The next piece that I did want to make sure that we highlighted is our Bentley Plus program. And so this Bentley Plus program really brings together those three core tenets of what we were talking about, that sense of connection and community, curriculum, what's happening inside and outside of the classroom, and then also career preparedness. And this work really started back in 2018 within our Division of Student Affairs, as we were starting to think about how are we ensuring that students are maximizing the opportunities that they're participating in, whether that's in the classroom, outside the classroom, if that is through service learning, if that is on campus or off campus job that they have, and how can they talk about this with employers? So it's centered on a few different competencies that were created from the National Association of Colleges and Employers based on some surveys, and thinking about what college readiness is based from our graduating seniors, and then also the employers who were engaging with these new employees to the field. And we've seen such great success with this signature program. This is a program that is really unique to Bentley, but also to institutions nationally. This is not something that really exists. And so we're really proud of this ability to work with students one-on-one. They're able to connect with staff advisors. They're able to reflect on their experiences. And then we also will have intentional conversations and coaching where we work with the students to say, okay, these are the competencies, this is the reflection, this is what you've learned. How do you then translate that and articulate that to future employers or to different opportunities as folks are thinking about what they might want to participate in. So it's a really wonderful experience. Students can participate. We have some first-year students who are already starting the program. Students can still sign up. If Caroline could post the direct link to BentleyPlus in the chat, that would be wonderful too, because this will give you a chance to learn a little bit more about the program. We have a wonderful video on there that gives even more details. And there are also, there's some more context in a variety of languages also. So if that's helpful to be able to see this content in another language, you'll be able to access that. But highly, highly, highly encourage your student to engage in the BentleyPlus program, whether it's within their first year or even in their senior year. They can join in at any time, but a really wonderful way to bring together the work that they've been doing in and outside of the classroom and really bring those competencies to life. So with that being said, we're going to start to think even more about post-orientation and how are we supporting our students. And so there are a few pieces that I wanted to make sure that I could hone in on tonight. So you may have heard me reference our Division of Student Affairs. And so this is a division within the Bentley community that really centers our focus areas around student well-being, equity and inclusion, social connection. You will see our university police department, our athletics, our counseling, our health center, spiritual life, student programs and engagement, our orientation team, and so many more are contributing members to this division. And we all work really, really, really hard to make sure that we can support students in a few different ways and really help to make this a sense of home for them. So a few of the focus areas that I just wanted to quickly highlight before we jump into supporting your students through their academic career, which I know is such an important piece that folks wanted to hear about tonight. But these three components: student well-being. So as we think about our students creating a plan for themselves in regards to their well-being, what does that look like as we think about social components, emotional components, physical and spiritual practices that really promote this sense of growth and resilience? For some students, they may have had a very rigorous setup of what this sense of well-being may have been when they were at home, but now they are transitioning to this life where they are doing some of this independently. And so really making sure that they have the resources, the support to help them to create a plan that will, sustain their well-being so that they can thrive, but that they're taking care of themselves. For a lot of students, this might be the first time that they're having to navigate going to the health center on their own, or maybe connecting with the counseling center. And so the team that we have really make sure that we're promoting these opportunities and that we're engaging in students in this work and in these different experiences. I think the other part too is I think sometimes our students may not have been exposed to certain areas or experiences in life. And by making sure that we can really have a wide range of offerings, this allows students to start to really develop what that might be for them. As we think about equity and inclusion, this is a core pillar of the work that we do at Bentley. And something that we hold really true as we think about inclusive excellence and making sure that all of our students can feel a sense of connection and work towards belonging. We have a phenomenal team in our student equity and inclusion cohort that really works to support some affinity spaces, but also engaging our students in concepts and topics and different experiences to just gain exposure and gain a different appreciation for one another. We know that people are coming from all different lived experiences and wanting to provide that opportunity for them to gain some global competency and be able to have some reflective moments in this developmental process is key. And the last component that I'm going to reference before we shift into academic success is really thinking about social connections. And so we know that when students can have a sense of belonging within a community, that they have a higher likelihood of succeeding not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. And so as students are starting to build this new sense of home or connection, how do we make sure that we support them in that? I know that we've talked a lot about some different program opportunities, involvement opportunities, but it goes even beyond that. It's how do we have safe spaces where students can come together and gather with one another, whether that's with people that are like them or that are completely different from them. How do we have meaningful dialogues and opportunities for connections? These all help us to create that cornerstone so that people can be successful, not just at Bentley, but far beyond Bentley. So these are a few of the focus areas that we really center our work on to make sure that your students are feeling supported. And I'm going to pause right here because I've been doing a lot of talking and I want to make sure that we can hear from some of our other campus leaders. So I will pause there and turn it over and invite our director for academic advising, Melissa Jenkins, to speak a little bit about what your student can expect in regards to academics and the support opportunities that exist for them.
Great, thank you, BL. That was very interesting to hear about all the work you're doing, what we call down the hill in student affairs. In academic affairs, and specifically with academic advising, what I wanted to focus on tonight was a little bit about how your student can connect with academic advising and a little bit about how they've been connecting. Really help you understand how this time in their life is about adjusting to academics, because it's a little bit different than what it was in high school. And then also how to explore academic opportunities available to them. So those are the three components I'm going to discuss with you for the next few minutes. So the first one is connecting with academic advising. We worked with them throughout the month of June and July, as well as a bit in August, and definitely when they arrived on campus. So we structured a new student website for both our first-year students and our transfers that provided them with the resources to better understand their first semester at Bentley from an academic lens and how they would register for their courses. We use not only some resources that were developed to be worksheets, but also informational sites and short videos. We're hoping that the short videos allowed them to digest information in small chunks that kind of built off of each other. So video 1, video 2, video 3, so that they weren't bombarded with a lot of information all at once and then could not go back and quickly access part of the information that they needed to review. This is a model that we'll be using with them throughout the academic year, and we think it worked really well. That new student website, which is on the advising webpage that you can easily access, is also something that they should be revisiting throughout the first semester, because that information is a lot and it's still very much applicable to what they need to adjust to in their first semester, and also preparing them for their next registration in November. We also spent some time with them, not only on registration day, supporting them through Zoom, but then every advisor made sure to look at every single first year and transfer students' schedule that they built to ensure that they had the proper classes and they followed some of the guidelines that would help them be successful that we shared with them through those videos. If there was an issue that we felt needed to be addressed, we connected with those students via email and let them know that their schedule needed some attention, and we were very detailed in what it needed to be done. And we invited them either to connect with us before they arrived on campus or when they came to campus. Part of the orientation rotation that was talked about on one of the days when they were here was them coming to visit us in the trading room to talk to an academic advisor and make any schedule adjustments they felt they needed to make at that time. So we met with them, quite a few of them. I think it was over 225 students came through in about an hour and a half. So it was a pleasure to meet with them, and they were lovely. And we were able to help a lot of students who needed some schedule adjustments for various reasons. So some of the things that you can help us help support your student is to help them realize that they are assigned an academic advisor. So I know that's on top of everyone's mind. Who's my academic advisor? How do I find them? Their academic advisor is assigned to them on the first day of classes, and it can be found in Workday. So if your student doesn't know where to find their advisor, say, check your Workday account. We are listed there for them to see. It is assigned by an alpha split. And we currently have 7 advisors who meet with, who are assigned to the entire undergraduate population. And I'm very happy to say we're hiring an 8th in the coming weeks. So we're expanding to help better serve our students. The idea of that is that they have a partner in academic advising throughout their 4 years. And it should remain consistent as long as we don't have some changes in our advising staff. Also, I would love to have changes if we're expanding even more and need to divide up the cohorts. But we're a very tight team. We work closely together, and we also support each other. So if your student can't get in to see their specific advisor in a timely manner that they want to see somebody, they can actually make an appointment with any advisor. So that's really important to remember, that we are always here for your students, whether it is their assigned advisor or one of the other members of our team. We've already sent them a welcome email from their advisor. They should have received that with information about how they can connect back with their assigned advisor. The most important thing I would have you share and make sure that your student understands is that we will be having a Meet Your Advisor event that is specific to our first year and transfer students. That is either going to be on October 2nd or October 9th. We are firming that up tomorrow. And then we will blast them with advertising, inviting them to come through our office so they can see our space if they haven't already, meet their advisor, and get a better sense of how we can support them within the office. We also have drop-ins every single day, and those are highly utilized by all of our students. Those drop-ins are staffed by our peer advisors, who are upper class students who are highly trained to help students with those more prescriptive questions. Things like, how do I drop a class, or how do I add a class? How do I swap classes? How do I, what is the policy for declaring a pass-fail? So those very basic quick hit questions that can be a 10-minute discussion are really great for your student to utilize as drop-ins. What they want to utilize their academic advisor for is the 30-minute appointments, and they can make those appointments by using Navigate 360. It's an online appointment system, and they'll be able to search not only the availability of their assigned advisor, but any other advisor who's part of the team. So again, it's more important that they get seen by a professional if they have questions that are beyond something that would take 10 minutes. For example, I'm currently a marketing major, but I really have found an interest in my finance course, and I'm thinking that might be an area I want to explore more. Can you tell me more about being a finance major or adding it as a minor? Can you tell me a little bit more about how I should prepare if I'm thinking of studying abroad? Those answers take a little bit more than 10 minutes, and it's also an opportunity to better understand what the student came in thinking, what they're thinking of now, what they've already done to explore and gather information, and then give them additional tools and resources that they can continue that process of learning more about not only themselves, but what Bentley has to offer and what would be a good fit for them. So those can be scheduled through that. What is also very important to realize is that the first year, as BL has mentioned, the first year Falcon Discovery Seminar is a great resource that we use to help educate students in the first semester about their academics for the second semester and getting ready for their registration for their spring courses. We work closely with the peer leaders that are assigned to Falcon Discovery Seminar to train them to better understand what our first year students need in preparation for that next registration process. Registration for them will happen again in November. So part of the way we connect with Falcon Discovery Seminar is we create modules for their course. There's 2 modules. One of them is understanding your academics, and the peer leaders will go through that module with them. And then the other one is getting ready for registration. So a week later, they'll go through that. Again, we are layering information so that they're not getting bombarded all at once. We are doing it in a very developmental way as here's the basic information, let's add more to it, and let's get a little more nuanced with what you need to do next. So our peer leaders will help us educate your students on the next registration process. In addition to that, we're going to hold group advising sessions where the peer leaders can actually help students sign up for those, and we can have conversations with groups of 20 of them at a time. Sounds like a lot, but it works out really well. We're in a larger room. We're at round tables. The peer leaders chip in and help us out. We, as advisors, do a short presentation, and then we go around the room and talk to each of the students about what they're thinking about registering for the next semester. They are also, as part of that module, given some worksheets and guided exercises that will better prepare them for that group advising. We started this model. It worked fantastic last fall. As a matter of fact, we have sophomores coming back asking us when their group advising session is happening because they liked it during Falcon Discovery Seminar. So we're going to be expanding it so that other students can take advantage of it. They learn a lot from each other. So having them sit in small groups and talk about what classes they're in, what they're going to register for, why they're registering for, what programs they're interested in. They connect to each other in a whole new way from an academic lens, and they learn about a lot about what other students are doing, and more importantly, the why they're doing it. So that will happen the week of October 28th. So those are ways in which we intentionally try and connect with them both passively and actively in the first semester. And those are ways in which they can connect with our office. We also do a monthly newsletter out of our office, which is academic advising falls under the umbrella of the Office of Student Success. So they get pertinent information every month from the advising team that is very specific to them or specific to the cycle we're in, the time of the semester, and what's important to know from an advising lens. So they really should be paying attention to that when they get it. We also, just like the new student webpage, the modules that they will learn about in FDS also have their own web sites that they will use. So it's building again off of the information that they learned from new student registration. They can also go into their module as part of their FDS and get more videos that expand on what you need to know for the second half of your first year. Our website is chock full of information. We're expanding it every day. There will be a parent page in the future. We have a small one there now, but we're building it out and really making sure that it has more in-depth information, not only about what your students need to know, depending on what class year they are, but also how you can support them. It's really important that they understand, and here's another buzzword you can ask them about, their degree works audit. This is the audit in which all of their academics is tracked. So in other words, if they brought in credit from IB, International Baccalaureate Exams, transfer credit as a transfer student, or courses that they took during high school that were approved credit, or if they took AP exams, those should be posted on their audit. They should also see the courses they're currently enrolled in. In December, when grades come out, they should see that the courses are graded and what their grades are, and also what they're registered for in the next semester. This audit is just like, audits in accounting. It's going to track exactly what the student needs to do to get from point A to point B. It's a checks and balances. Am I meeting the requirements within my major? Am I meeting my requirements outside my major? Am I meeting my requirements within my minor? Am I meeting the GPA requirements? So it's all right there for them. They need to know how to read it. That's part of their module with FDS. And they also need to look at it often. It is their responsibility to make sure they understand their audit, that they can identify a potential issue with their audit, and then connect with an advisor to say, does this look right to you? And if it doesn't, we'll make sure it gets fixed. So ask them about their degree works audit and see if they can show it to you, or if they know what it is or can explain what it is. And if not, tell them to ask their peer leader or to listen to the modules that they'll be hearing about at the end of October so they can learn about that. Little hint, on our new student website, we actually have a video about how to find and read your audit. So they've seen the information and all of you can go back and look at that with them. We also try and engage them in programmings from our office, just like other offices try and engage them in programs. We have found that partnering with other offices we tend to be more successful in reaching students. So we've currently working with our career development office to engage students in joint programming from their lens and the advising lens. And so we're getting ready to open a whole new slate of programming this year. And the programming will be targeted towards students depending on maybe the major or the career community they're interested in, or maybe the class year that they are and some of the decisions that need to be made. But we tend to see more success in engaging students and connecting with students when we partner with other organizations. So we are constantly working with student affairs. We partner with the Multicultural Center. We partner with the Center for International Students and Scholars on programs to meet students. And we certainly partner with the Study Abroad Office and Career Development. So whether it's sharing space and advising students or actually putting on a workshop or a program, that's how we like to connect with students. And we'll be doing a lot of those in the coming months, but definitely in the coming year. So your students will hear about that through advertising, whether it be flyers hanging on walls, on our monitors throughout campus, we'll be advertising those. And if it's a very targeted group, we will do email blasts to make sure that they understand that things are happening. So that is ways in which we engage with our students. Some other things that I wanted to draw your attention to is that your student came in if they expressed an interest in a specific major during their application process. That major was attached to their academic record. So they came in with a declared major if they declared an interest in their common application. They did have an option to remain undecided or undeclared. And so we do have students who have opted into remaining undeclared while they explore options and availability. Just because your student came in with a declared major doesn't mean that they can't change it. It doesn't mean it's set in stone. It doesn't even mean it's set in stone when they're in their second year. The most important thing is that we understand what their interest is when they came in, so that we have a better understanding of where their path may lead them, and we're prepared as a university to serve that student or those students interested in certain careers. But we also know that there's a lot of other opportunities available, such as adding a second major, declaring one or two more minors, studying abroad, and all of that needs to be sorted out. And having at least one decision that they think they've made helps them see the bigger picture. So they will still need to continue to explore academic opportunities. So they should be looking at, okay, I came in as a finance major. Is that really the major for me? They don't need to know that in their first semester or their second. What they really need to do is just start exploring. And they can do that through the CDI 101 that BL had talked about. There's also other info sessions and programs that the Career Development Office will put on for students that they're more than welcome to go to hear from maybe alums who were in the major that they're in or in a major that they're interested in, or recruiters talking about what's going on for internships so they can get a better sense of that. Some of the curriculum that they'll be in the first year to year and a half will help inform their decisions that they're making. So the basic business courses, the accounting, the finance, the management, the law, the economics courses that they're taking will help inform their interests and what they're learning. So that may lead them to either switch their major, may lead them to solidify they are in the right major, or it may help them understand that they may want to add a program. So it's going to take time, and those aren't decisions that need to be made in the first year. And there's nothing that they could take that would not allow them to pursue a specific program, with the exception of the math. So if they're interested in data analytics, actuarial science, or mathematical sciences, which we hammered home with them over the summer, there's a specific math course they need to be in. It's still not too late. They can always catch up and take that math course. But we want to get them on that pathway as early as possible. So the first year is really about acclimation. It's about looking into what they're interested in, gathering the information, being open-minded to all the different things they never thought about before, and using the time to explore. We will start working with them to define their academic goals. And the first thing is that they can think about is the major that I'm listed as the major that I want to pursue? Because if they can at least check that box, then they can start thinking about the other decisions. There are some other things I wanted to let you know about before I turn it back to BL and her team. As I said, academic advising is part of a larger organization called the Office of Student Success. Part of the Office of Student Success also works with, has a branch of it called academic coaching and tutoring, as well as student accessibility services. There are other parts of the Office of Student Success, but those are the three that I wanted to mention this evening. Our job, just like the job of every employee on campus, is to ensure that your students are successful, that we give them the tools to be successful, and that they have the best Bentley experience that they can possibly have. Success is a partnership. They need to engage with the professionals and with the tools that we're providing with them so that they can be successful. I talked about adjustments to college. You know, these students are well prepared to be successful at Bentley. However, the way in which they learned and the experiences they had in high school may be vastly different than the experiences they'll have in college, and the way in which you need to apply yourself to learn in college. So things may change. They may have the best study skills, but now they need to apply them in a different way. Their time management is going to be tested no matter how good their time management skills were in high school. It's going to be very different. They need to adapt to a new learning approach. They need to better understand how to manage their time when there's big gaps open of free time. And they're going to have to better understand how to organize their time when they have large projects and lots of reading. So it's important that they connect with their faculty, and there's different ways they can do that. Office hours are the best way to connect with faculty. And we encourage our first year students to go to office hours within the first 2 to 3 weeks just to say, hi, I'm Melissa. I'm in your class. I'm really enjoying it. I have a question. I'm thinking about this as my major. Whatever it is, just make that connection, because that connection will stick with that professor. And in the next couple of weeks, even though there's only 30 to 35 students in the classroom, they're going to remember that encounter, and they're going to feel more comfortable with each other. So if there is a problem and the student starts to feel uncomfortable, they've already said hello and met them in office hours, and it's much easier to say, that last thing you talked about, I did not get at all. They also will get to know that student, so they can see that cloudy look in their eye and be like, I don't think they're understanding it. So they don't want to hide in class. They want to make sure that they're seen in class, and they can do that by making those connections and engaging in the classroom, asking questions, being involved, being an active participant. We have campus resources, and I brought up our academic coaching and tutoring. After office hours, the next best place for students to get support is our learning labs and centers. We have someplace on campus that is a learning lab or center for almost all academic courses or departments. If they're beginning to struggle and they've talked to their professor and they need additional support, they may need to go to what we call the LEAF lab. The LEAF lab is the Learning Center for Economics, Accounting, and Finance. It is a place where they can go and get support for the courses and the material that they're learning. They can get concepts explained to them. They can get additional practice. They can get prepped for an upcoming exam or project. If they still need further support than the Learning Center can give them, they can come to the Office of Student Success or their advisor, and they can talk to somebody about getting a tutor. We usually have a lot of group tutoring, again, small group tutoring, because students learn best in small groups. But we also have academic coaching, which can help with those time management and study skills. So that is a place where additional campus resources can be utilized when they're feeling uncomfortable with how they're learning. And another great resource, the best one they can use in their first semester and even their second, is their peer leader. They've bonded just like they did with their OL. They have a strong relationship. It's the first strong relationships they make on campus is with their OLs and their peer leaders. They're great resources for students, as well as our office. We are centrally located in an academic building. I bet every student walks by our office at least 3 times a day. If they don't know where to go to ask a question, if they don't even know what question to ask, but something doesn't feel great, their peer leader, our office, and even their OL, if they're staying connected with them, is a great resource for them. So we look forward to building relationships with your students. It takes a little bit of time, but we're doing our very best to get connected with them as early as possible and as often as possible. We are accessible, and we hope to hear from them soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm always just so impressed how much we offer our students, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So it's always such a wonderful refresher to be able to hear this. So thank you for being here and sharing all of this wonderful content. Before we transition into our Q&A, and I know that our Dean of Students has been in there answering some questions while we've been covering some content. So thank you, Andrew, for doing that. I wanted to invite you all to participate in a reflective activity that your students participated in. So in their closing orientation meeting, as they were wrapping up what those few days were for them and really starting to transition to think about what their first semester and first year at Bentley could look and feel like, we invited them to write a note to themselves that they would send through this futureme.org website. And we asked them to date it for May 1, 2025. So this way they could put down what their thoughts and their feelings and their aspirations and wishes are for themselves for this year. And so what we'd like to do right now, and Caroline, if you can help me by posting that link in the chat for people to easily access, we wanted to give a quick moment for you to also put some thoughts and wishes down for your new Falcon so that on May 1st, 2025, when they receive a note from themselves, when they are able to see all that they've accomplished and all that they've been able to do over a year, that they can also see some beautiful words of wisdom and well wishes from you as a little bit of a surprise. So in a moment, Caroline will post that link in the chat. And you do not need to finish it during our time together right now, but at the very least, we want to make sure that you can have access to the link. And from there, what you'll do is you will fill it out. So you'll want to select 1 year, private letter, and then put your student's email address. You're welcome to use their personal email address or their Bentley email address. You'll fill it out and then you'll send it to the future. And what we've found is this is just such a beautiful way to reflect yourselves on what this year looks like, but also for your students to be able to see that they've been able to accomplish this with your support and all of their hard work and effort. So please do take some time to fill that out and have them be a part of this wonderful surprise on May 1 as they're beginning to engage in their finals and in wrapping up their first year. Caroline, you want to talk a little bit about how our families can stay connected to us, especially as we'll be looking to host some more sessions for folks in the coming months?
Sure. So one main piece is to continue to follow us on Instagram. So our at Welcome's Instagram account has a lot of information on it for both you and your student. We have different Baby Falc Fridays where we highlight different offices and resources. We highlight our student team, what they're doing all throughout the year. We have our Falcon 40 schedule listed there. So really just take a chance to look at what we are offering through our Instagram platform. We also are continuing these Falcon live chats throughout this first year for you all. So we have a few in the upcoming months. So we'll have a family panel with Bentley staff and faculty who have had students at Bentley. So just talking a little bit about what does it look like to have a student in college and how can they support you while also understanding the Bentley community. We will continue to have one on course registration. We will talk a little bit about some tips for pre-break when students are thinking about Thanksgiving break and also the December holiday break. And then we will have a housing selection one in the spring semester. So a few different opportunities for you to continue to engage with different resources on campus as we are getting close to some of those different dates and deadlines that students do want to make sure that they are participating in to be successful throughout their first year and their second year.
Wonderful. Thank you, Caroline. And so that folks have some of our direct email accounts, please feel free to reach out to us. We recognize we're not going to be able to answer every single question during our time together tonight, but please do feel free to reach out to us. We also have some additional resources that we've linked in here for our new Falcon Experience. This is something that you may have already viewed during your students' onboarding process, but similar to what Melissa was saying, these resources, these videos, these modules will continue to exist. We recognize that, yes, they are helpful as people are onboarding to the institution, but they are definitely going to be great resources as students are going to their second, third, fourth, fifth year here. So please continue to use these, navigate our website, reach out if you have questions. We are here to support you and your student so that this can be a successful time here in our community. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can bring everybody back on the screen and open it up to any remaining questions that folks have in these final 5 minutes. All right. So one of our questions does reference our assigned academic advisor. And I know you spoke to this, Melissa, but I didn't know if there was anything else that you wanted to reference around academic advisors for students.
Sure. So, like I had pointed out, academic advisors are assigned by alpha last name. We are generalists. We make it a point to understand every single major and academic program being offered. We also work closely with career development. As I said before, we have behind the scenes liaison positions. So our advisors are connected to specific career coaches so that we can learn more about the industry, the recruiting process, what alums and recruiters and companies are looking for. That's a new initiative that we've created. It's something so that we can be better trained as advisors and better understand how the academics and the career piece link together. We'll be expanding that with our academic departments over the course of the next year as well, so we can better understand the nuances in the classroom, and we'll cross-train everyone on the team. So we are going to remain generalists, and that's very intentional. Because students can do more than one program, we don't want to be specialists who can only do a specific program, because then your student would have multiple academic advisors, which could be very confusing. So that was one thing I wanted to clarify. I think the other thing that is important to clarify is that the advising at Bentley is student initiated. So if a student would like advising, they need to reach out for advising by making an appointment with their assigned advisor or an advisor that best fits their schedule. It's also not uncommon for a student to grab appointments because they're very busy, that's convenient for them, and then realize they have a strong connection to somebody that is not their assigned academic advisor. We can make that switch. We can, if a student says to us, I really, really love Emily and would love for her to be my advisor, all they have to do is put that in writing and we can make that happen. That said, we also have through the academic coaching and tutoring arm of our Office of Student Success, we all have a progress reporting process. And what's really nice about having an assigned advisor is that if a progress report is initiated, the advisor is copied on that. And advisors take action. We look at the progress report, we see what the issue is. We'll either send resources and acknowledgement that we see this progress report. We want to connect with them if they need support, but here are some resources you can start to utilize that might help given the progress report situation. We also monitor, because if there are multiple progress reports or if they're pretty extreme, we will do targeted outreach and say, you need to come see us. And we will email, we will phone, we will text. We will do everything we can to make a connection with that student so we can get them the resources they need to turn it around as fast as possible. We want to be there for them. So that is a safety net for us. That's also a way for us to identify when a student needs more support beyond the learning centers. And maybe that's when we do a direct referral for tutoring or that academic coach, and then they would have that service to them. All these services I'm talking about are included in tuition. There's no additional cost for any of this.
Wonderful. Thank you, Melissa. There was a question from a family member that was looking for advice for a student who maybe hasn't connected with someone, so they're not going to the dining hall because maybe they don't want to sit by themselves. Wanted to throw that out to Lauren to see if you had any thoughts on any advice that you might offer to this family member as their students thinking about what that looks like.
Thanks, Biel. I think there's a couple of ways that students can get involved on campus and make connections and friends. One of the opportunities was most recently the Student Organization Fair. And so our Student Program and Engagement Office, which is located right in the Student Center, the student can come in, talk to us, see what they're interested in joining, and then we can connect them directly to the student organization, which is a great way to start. We have over 130 student organizations on campus. I think our number keeps creeping up, and there's really something for everyone. So I would start there. Certainly the student could connect with the Dean of Students office, and we can meet with them and find out what's going on and how we can connect them. Also, oftentimes staff go to lunch in the dining hall, and we bring students with us all the time. So I am happy to reach out to your student as well if there's an opportunity. Come to the Student Center and engage with us in either the 320 office or in the Student Programs and Engagement office. We're happy to connect that student to some options.
Yeah, and I think to just kind of branch off of what Lauren was saying too, and what Melissa was saying earlier, the students have these fabulous resources with some of our peer leaders. So whether that is their peer leader in Falcon Discovery Seminar, their orientation leader, or if they are living on campus, their resident assistant. And they may not click with all three of them, but there's probably someone that they're going to connect with. Or if they are on one of our varsity athletic teams, connecting students there, if they came early for our Mosaic program experience. There's a lot of different niche opportunities where we can also help to ensure that students are connecting with some peer leader. So if you are finding that your student isn't able to kind of self-advocate for some of that, please don't hesitate to reach out, because we're also happy to find some ways to make some of those connections too. And we recognize that it's not always the easiest when you're coming into a new place to make up some of those connections. So we're happy to help support that. And I know I'll speak for our orientation leaders. They are completely willing to make themselves be goofy and look silly if that helps to make someone else be comfortable. So please don't hesitate to reach out if your student isn't making those connections yet, and we're happy to help them find that. Before we wrap up tonight, I just wanted to open it up to my fellow colleagues here to see if there's any other words of wisdom or tips that you think would be helpful for us to share with families as we are wrapping up tonight.
I think you covered a lot, Bobby Lynn and everyone, and I think the information was great, and the emails are there, and reach out with questions, and know that the website has a lot of information. And I think, Gail, your advice on an RA, an orientation leader, an FDS peer is really the key. Finding that fellow student to help point you in the right direction. They're all well trained. They know where the resources are, and encouraging your student to advocate and find those resources.
Our campus groups platform is also a really great space for students to be able to really just explore all of the different organizations. Maybe the activities fair was really overwhelming for them with the amount of people, but they can go to our campus groups page and just search on their phone or on their laptop. So really having them take the opportunity to do that. It also lists all of the upcoming events that all of the student orgs plan, so they can really take a look and just pop into any of those events too. They will say if they're open to membership or if they're open to everyone. So a really great space for students as they are looking to get involved on campus. And I can throw that link in the chat too.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening or this morning, wherever home is for you. We really appreciate having some time with you to share some of these resources. If we weren't able to get to your question, please do reach out to us via email. We're happy to continue the conversation. And I hope that you are able to gather from this that Bentley is such a place of care, a spot that we want your students to be successful, and that we're happy to partner with you in this so that we can get to that space of success. So thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you at future programs. And if you're able to travel back to campus, we hope to see you during Falcon Weekend in just 2 weeks. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great night.